Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we've got a lot of interesting things to talk about. We've got a game-breaking bug, we've got some balance changes that we missed out on, and a few other cool things as well. So back-to-back videos with this type of format. Let me know whether you like these types of videos. Definitely a little bit of a nice refreshment from the constant gameplay shoved down your guys' faces. But yeah, it's pretty nice to talk about these things. So first and foremost, let's talk about the elephant in the room. We have Ash, who's temporarily... bro, I can't speak English. Not available at the moment. So there's only a few brawlers in the past that have had this kind of treatment. So it's to do with a duels book. We'll jump into this in a second right here. So as you can see on the screen, Alex this morning, and it actually happened yesterday. I've seen a lot of people talking about it. Almost, well, not a lot of people, a few people asking me whether I've seen the bug on my stream. I just thought, you know, maybe he's trolling. Maybe I just don't need to talk about this bug in case, I don't know, like I'm not really supposed to talk about game breaking bugs because it just gives more eyes to it, right? And then people can abuse it even more. So I normally talk about the bugs after they've been patched. So it basically has been patched, but you see here when you pause pretty much all of them, you see Ash and a Larry here. Somehow he actually beat that person. We've seen, bro, that guy right there, he surely needs to get banned. He has a level 7 Ash and then a 1500 Larry. He must have been abusing that bug all day. Another one, Ash 757 trophies, 1100 Larry. So if you guys didn't know, it's the Larry first pick and then the Ash last pick. Poor Ash was the one that received the ban though. Again, you can see literally everyone who is facing is abusing this bug. That is absolutely crazy. I'm wondering at what point he actually realized that it was just a game breaking bug. He probably just thought it was his phone. I know Alex, he's I think it's a former pro player. Then we also see this tweet from Suicide, who I know in the community, but again, kind of highlighting what really happens with the bug, which is just pretty interesting that literally anyone can do it and just break the opponent's phone. And then we see this on Reddit. So 18 hours ago, I'm unsure how this exploit wasn't exploited more, if you get what I mean. I'm glad it didn't, because again, it kind of leads to you getting like a soft ban potentially if you're abusing this to get trophies, or the trophies could get removed from your account. I'm not too sure where Brawl Stars go from this, because some people have got a big unfair advantage in terms of their trophies on some brawlers. It's quite interesting when these bugs happen, but I mean, it does happen sometimes. So you can see by this Reddit post as well, these are the previous brawlers that have got removed from the game for a short period of time. We have Bonnie, where Bonnie's one was when there was just a bunch of, there's so many numbers going on your screen, and then it'll just crash your device. It was like the craziest bug I've ever seen. And then Willow's super would make your game crash. Ash as well, of course, right now. And then Jean, it wasn't actually like disabled from the menu like this. It didn't look like how it looks like in game right now, but Jean, whenever he throw out his super, would crash the game. So I think there's like 4 brawlers, maybe even 5. You know, there's like Otis bugs and everything else. So we have another Reddit post. Why did they disable Ash but not the twins instead? So that's a good point. Like, the bug relies around Larry and Laurie and Ash, but I guess just targeting one of them, which I think is Ash. Someone said it might be due to there not being an animation loading correctly for whatever reason in duels with Ash. So his super rats doesn't have an animation, which is just crazy. I don't know how that works in the code, and I don't know how they missed that. But poor Ash, like, he just gets bullied for the entirety of, as soon as he came into the game, right? He's just been unloved. He's always been at the bottom. And why not Larry and Laurie? We hate these guys, okay? Ever since the apocalypse, we've just got some hatred towards them. So I just came across this funny post, by the way. I'll skip past it pretty quick, but everyone talking about the reworks. I just see that Frank has 750k HP. I was like, they're actually going to release that into the game, ain't they? Like, that much HP. That's something I could see. Instead of a rework, they're just going to buff the HP infinitely until it becomes viable. Doug, 1k HP, but he has infinite sausage supers. So he just can't die. He's going to have wieners everywhere. Daryl's is just, he literally is a barrel. Like, this is just hilarious. But imagine if somebody's came into the game, that would be some really funny stuff. So now we're going to be going into the juicy stuff in terms of the balance changes. So you want to head over to Dandy Stuffs. I'll put his Twitter in the description, because he's always goated with a bunch of different, like, everything Brawl Stars related. He knows, like, he's literally Brawl Stars Wikipedia, encyclopedia, whatever you want to call it. So you can see here, basically, you guys obviously probably can't read Chinese. I can't either. Like, a lot of that is just a blur to me, but I'll explain it in a second. So we go over to 7 lines. Again, I'll leave the link in the description below. But essentially, well, the Chinese build, I knew this for a while because I covered this in casting and just through my years. So the Chinese build is actually behind Brawl Stars, like our build, in terms of updates. It always has been. Maybe they'll catch up in the future, but you can see the comparison between the damages on the left and the right hand side. I'm trying to think at the top of my head. I think the right one is the new one because it deals a little bit more damage. You can see here 853 with Chuck, and then wait, let's go back to that one. 853, then 832, that same exact tiles and distance. So there's been a change in terms of the damage scaling with brawlers. So this is where this graph comes in really handy. So I don't know whether, yeah, I can full screen it pretty good there. So basically what these numbers mean, I mean, it's nice and pretty in a nice graphic. Again, a big shout out to I think it was No Side at the top who made this. So essentially, during the maintenance last week, these balance changes got put into the game, and we didn't realize because they changed how damage scaling worked. Some brawlers have been affected by a buff, some brawlers have been affected by a nerf through these changes. So you can see here all of these green numbers. I mean, some of these probably shouldn't be green. I mean, I think technically without, again, I'm not really good with data like this. They're saying that it essentially got a damage buff in terms of all of the ranges. Again, I'll show you in a second in game what that looks like. But essentially, over this side where my mouse is, down the left hand side, 1600, this is at like maximum range for a buster. So my interpretation is that you deal more damage at longer range, and then as it gets closer, the damage drops off a little bit, but only a little bit here. Like you can see the one in the previous build, so before the 22nd of May, that was 2542 damage, pretty much a point blank, and then now it's 2539. So that's what it means. Again, I'll leave it so you guys can look at the data, but you can see these graphs, and essentially it means that Buster is what, he's got like a 1-2% damage buff. So that kind of damage change that he got, that damage nerf he got last update, it's kind of been reverted with his damage scaling. So basically all of that it means, Buster deals 1600 damage pretty much at the tip of his range, which means, you know, as Buster you don't always deal damage up close. It's very rare that brawlers are going to get close to you unless of course you use your gadget. But next we have Leon on the list. So essentially Leon's got a nerf. We kind of knew that anyway from the previous nerf he got a couple of months ago, where his damage dropped off a lot, his minimum damage at maximum range. That is a lot to consider there. But essentially at maximum range here, so the numbers go from left to right, of course the right being at close range here at the top, and then from the left, that's of course at maximum range. So the bottom one is what Leon is now, the top one is what Leon was a week ago, and you can see at maximum range there's a slight damage buff, and then there's a big drop off. Well, it's not very big, it's small numbers, but that adds up over time. So essentially Leon just deals less damage at certain ranges. So he's essentially, well, it's kind of mixed with Leon. It's not a buff, it's not a nerf, it's kind of in between. It probably deals a little less consistent damage as time goes on, and that means he's going to cycle super less. So another Leon nerf essentially is what I look at this. Some people might not really see it like that, but I see it as that, just a small little one. But at the same time, he deals more damage at maximum range. I don't know how to really interpret that. Next we have Chuck. So Chuck, you can see a lot of green right here, right? That is so much green. And that essentially just means the damage scaling's increased with Chuck. Chuck has definitely got a damage buff. It probably will be around a 1-2%. Again, I'm not good with numbers. I don't know how to really look at everything. Like, oh yeah, I'm decent with numbers, but essentially you can kind of compare here. So you see like at maximum range, that's 603 damage, and it's now 626. You look at this one here, 717, it's now 745. You look at that one, 774, now it's 799. So essentially at most of these distances, Chuck is getting a damage buff. It only really drops off around, I think, like towards the end, so he deals like 2 less damage. So at every single range he's dealing more damage, so that's why Chuck might be a little bit more viable. You probably won't feel it as much, but at least he gets a little bit of love, right? And then we have Piper. So we have Piper with a lot of nerfs on this graph right here. So essentially this is meaning like a couple %, I think, Piper damage nerf, maybe even more. So you can see at maximum range 3400, and then the kind of course, it's like a drop off with Piper, right? There's, with all of these brawlers, there's a drop off depending on how far away you're shooting the brawler. That's just how these brawlers work, right? So Piper, of course, that works with every single shot. So at minimum distance, it's now 680 damage instead of 888. There was a nerf with this in the previous balance changes as well, like a month ago. But you can see, you can kind of compare every single range. When you compare it from a week ago to now, the damage has dropped off. So Piper, it's just going to be a little bit easier to counter. I didn't actually realize it was Piper myself at all. I've not really been playing her too much anyways, but that's definitely a significant nerf. So again, I wanted to test this out in game real quick. We're just doing this in one take because we're just skillful right back. So we take Buster into game right here. And again, we'll see the kind of noticeable changes would definitely be everything but Leon. I don't think you'll notice much with Leon. So you go over to the robot right here, and you can see at about, well, is it just before the edge of the range, 1,600. If you go to the tippity top of the range, it's 1,480. So that's about the same, but kind of like around this area, kind of around these kind of tiles. So that's I would say this typical range you're fighting with Buster, right? In and around here, you're going to be dealing a lot more consistent high damage, and that's going to make Buster a lot better. So the last point of the video, I just wanted to showcase to you guys because I thought this was quite cool. So there's a new website called BrawlAce.com. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. A lot of links today, but essentially what I found is just really cool. So you put in your player hashtag, of course, for these websites. I know mine by heart because I'm a nerd like that. No, that's because of how many tournaments I played, so I have to learn how. You can see code SPEN, blah blah blah, trophies, wow, I'm so cool, heist, insane, oh wow, that's really good. But the cool thing that everyone's talking about on Twitter is this mastery section. So you click on the mastery section right here, and there's a lot to dive. Well, everyone's just looking at their maximum mastery. So of course I've got gold for in a few brawlers like Pam, for example, and the mastery cap, let me just check in game, it's 24k, right? No, 2,480. So there's 3 brawlers that have got way more mastery points for. So essentially with Pam, I've got another 10,000 mastery points then gold free. So that'd be interesting if they add like diamond or something. I think I've seen on Nub's video and a few other things on Twitter and Reddit. If they added more to your mastery track, would this just be added on automatically, or would you have to re-earn that? Interesting to see. But I've seen like Pika, for example, on Twitter. He's got like he's got like 10 times the amount, like 240,000 mastery points, which is just hilarious. I just thought I'd show you guys. You know, you can put it on Reddit or whatever, see how many mastery points you have. But it's quite interesting. Hank somehow is down here. I mean, Hank and Jean, these are supposed to be my mains, and they're not even up here. Larry and Laurie, okay, I might have abused them when they were broken, guys. I'm sorry. I hold my hands up, all right? I'm a meta abuser. Okay, that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.